I literally walked around the corner in North Melbourne and I shirt fronted a bloke in the dark, and it was Peter Brock. He was walking out of his office in Leveson Street down the steps. I'm coming around the corner, and we literally met by accident. Only recently, my mother, 92-year-old mother, presented me with a bit of paper. She said, "I've got something for you." I said, "What's that?" And it was my apprenticeship indenture paperwork. I'd never seen it. I don't remember it because I'd signed it. Signed by Peter Brock, John Harvey, and myself. Like motor racing, life, it's a team. It's a team event.
Yeah.
You know, your family or you can't. I do a bit of motor racing. You can't do it by yourself. I can't get out during the race, jump out, change the tyres myself, and hop back in. You know, non-competitive. So I think in life, it's a team event. Your family, your work.
In today's episode, we're joined by David Whitehead, a man who had the incredible privilege of working alongside Australian motorsport legend Peter Brock for over a decade. David's journey with Brocky started with a chance encounter that changed the course of his life, from being a passionate fan watching Brock race at Sandown to becoming one of his most trusted confidants. David offers an exclusive glimpse into the life of one of Australia's greatest sporting icons. David takes us behind the curtain, sharing personal stories and insights on what made Peter Brock not just a champion on the track, but a leader with unshakable belief in resilience, nerves, and positive expectation. You'll hear about the deep trust that formed between them and the lessons David learned from Brock about leadership and life. Whether you're a motorsport fan, a leader in your own field, or just someone looking for inspiration on what it takes to succeed under pressure, this episode will give you unique, never-before-heard insights into the mindset of a true Australian legend. Tune in now for an unforgettable conversation with David Whitehead as we dive deep into the legacy of Peter Brock and how his influence still resonates today. I'm Ian Hawkins, and this is Sport is Life. The purpose of sport, as I see it, is to see your vision become a reality. Find your voice, create strong connections, and learn to trust your body. Hey David, how you going?
Yeah, great today. Yeah?
Good, mate. The anniversary, 19 years since the passing of the late, great Peter Brock, and I was talking to my brother the other day, because can't believe 19 years has passed, and he said, "Oh, you got to speak to Davo because of your connection with Brocky." So that's how we landed here, but we also want to tell a bit of your story as well. So let's go back before you get introduced to that world, because I'm sure that would have been an interesting place. But so what were you growing up? Did you have an interest in motorsport?
I did country Victoria, local rallies, Ballarat Light Car Club, Datsun 1600s, chasing kangaroos in the middle of the night. And this is all before we got our license, right? So,
Yeah, right.
So anything in the aspirational big time, the touring car championship, I remember coming to Sandown and seeing them racing at the Sandown 500, and those striking, they called it Dayglow orange or red Marlboro Commodores running around Sandown. And I guess that crystallised, choice of word for later, my Peter Brock love.
Yeah.
And it preoccupied me. I go, wow, I got so close to these cars standing at the track at Sandown. I never thought that was possible. Never been to a race before. So that's where the love affair started, I guess. So.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, that love affair would have been from watching those exact cars on the TV. I told you when we chatted the first time how, like, my first car was a VL. Also, yes. We talked about how much they're worth now and how we should have all kept our VLs. But anyway, that's another story. But it's definitely something that a lot of Australians grew up watching, right? It's like such an iconic car, that early 80s Brock Commodore.
Well, you were Ford or Holden, you were Collingwood or Carlton. You were very, very definite about your light beer or heavy beer. You were. Yeah. There wasn't too many choices. So half the people you didn't like, and the other half the people they didn't like you. So you had to pick a box and stand your ground. So and that legacy that in motorsport grew and grew forever. And it was never in any other country of the world. It was probably never as prolific as it was in Australia, because Peter Brock and Alan Moffat created that fisticup racing, throw in a Dick Johnson, all the other guys on the journey. So, and Australians love all that. They love the underdog. They love the big crashes and the big comebacks. So it was pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So you hear a lot of motorsport stars talk about they have the early days when they're driving, like you described, pre-getting a license. So is that something that was just country Victoria was just a given? Like you're in a car from what age you start driving around a paddock?
Oh, as soon as you were probably encouraged to do it. It wasn't discouraged.
Yeah, right.
It was, how else was I going to pick up Dad from the pub unless I grabbed his car and went and got him? And he was the local cop, so I was just doing the right thing. So transport, like anyone growing up, mobility, whether it's a push bike or a train, in the country, it's more likely to be a tractor or a car, and so the culture around getting around driving cars younger was greater than what's in the city, I'm gathering.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure
so you're exposed to it. Yeah. And look, if you look at early Peter Brock videos on the farm, when he built that Austin A30, that's exactly what was happening in country Eltham. He bought an A30 and cut the roof off it and went motor racing with his brothers and his neighbours. So, hey, that probably still hasn't gone away. Nothing new.
Yeah, for sure. One of the most recent V8 drivers, it might have been James Courtney, I can't remember, but they were talking about how like their house was like 7 k's from the end of the property where the bus stop was. So he had a modified car with, chunks of wood strapped onto the accelerator and the brake just so he could get to the edge of the property, so he could get the bus to school. Otherwise, there was just no way to get. Yeah. So just common practice.
Yeah, and there was no, the social media or access to the sport wasn't there, so you had to entertain yourself. You're fantasizing about it, I guess. And then, like I did, you go to Sandown for the first time and you go, "Wow, this is real. They really do this stuff." And kind of, I've still got my scrapbook of cutting out the stuff in the young days and sticking it in a book, because that was every newspaper article you hung on to. Whole different form of favourites and saves.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we had our like sort of like old boys, old girls day at our football club at not last weekend, the weekend before. Yeah, and one of my old coaches had a scrapbook. Exactly right. All these newspaper clippings, and this is what we did back then. But youngsters now can't even comprehend that. But
no idea.
Probably a good thing in a way that we didn't have cameras that readily accessible and recording everything that we got up to. So
off the back of that Sandown experience, I became curious about contacting. I thought that's what I want to do. It was pretty black and white. So in North Melbourne one night, staying at my brother's place, and I was doing year 12 or HSC in those days, and VCE, and I literally walked around the corner in North Melbourne, and I shirt fronted a bloke in the dark, and it was Peter Brock. He was walking out of his office in Leveson Street down the steps. I'm coming around the corner, and we literally met by accident.
Wow.
So quick conversation. He told me the guy to talk to, go and talk to John Stevenson, who was his operations guy. And
so you hit him straight up. You hit him up for a job straight away?
Yeah, got chatting, yep.
Yeah.
And it wasn't conscious thought, it was just a conversation.
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot to say, so I thought that's something pertinent. And so I did that. I contacted John, and HDT just moved from North Melbourne to Port Melbourne.
Yep.
This is mid-84. So this is pre-Bathurst, I think. And so I did. I contacted them and wrote a letter and made a phone call, whatever it was in those days, and I came down on the train and went to Verdi Street and rocked in and met John Harvey. I don't know if even Brock was around that day. Met John Harvey, and he said he was running HDT special vehicles as well as being the factory driver.
The driver, yeah.
So that was his day job. He said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to do an apprenticeship." So very formal in those days. So we filled in, basically filled in the paperwork, and it was accepted and done about a week before I sat my exams.
How good.
So I sat my exams and just coloured in because I didn't want to pass.
Yeah.
I'm not ruining this for anybody, even though I was actually going to join the army. So that's how far away I was from going motor racing.
Yeah, wow.
And I came to Melbourne, and literally the 2 weeks before Christmas, at Birdie Street, and off I went.
So
and only recently, my mother, 92-year-old mother, presented me with a bit of paper. She said, "I've got something for you." I said, "What's that?" And it was my apprenticeship indenture paperwork. I'd never seen it. I don't remember it because I'd signed it. Signed by Peter Brock, John Harvey, and myself.
How good.
She must have had it because I was still half living at home. Yeah. Just had it in the archives, and I haven't seen that. I only got that last year. So,
wow, piece of history.
Piece of history, like me, a piece of history.
So, were you just pinching yourself? Because this is Brock in his absolute prime. The brand's in its prime, and you're walking in there.
And I'm walking around with a broom thinking this is great.
Yeah. How good.
And I guess perspective's one thing, but it was just another, and I don't downplay the experience, but for me, it was just another day at work. This is what we do. This is how we roll. It wasn't walking around in awe. There was a bit of that with Brock, I think, with me for quite a while.
Yeah.
But what the turning point, because I was an apprentice, I was kind of a free man, right? So I'm running up the middle, I'm running around the boundary, and I keep getting the ball kicked to me because Brock would be saying to one of the guys, I need to do this or I need to do that. So Davo become the loose man because I wasn't playing in a position, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was doing this, I got involved in a lot of stuff because I was just a kid apprentice and I was cheap labour. But I was getting involved in pretty high-end projects on that cheap labour. We had a part of the workshop called the sand pit, which was a room in between, a bit long factory. It's the Bunnings in Port Melbourne now, if you're driving past, in Birdie Street. In the middle between the racing team and special vehicles was like a 6-car workshop called the sand pit. That was Brock's secret department. That's where all the tinkering happened. That's where pull this apart, do that, mess with that, working on different cars. So I sort of lived in there. And by default, I got to do a whole range of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff we're working on, development stuff, try these different springs. The list goes on and on. And I guess I plugged into Brock. I was kind of his right-hand man, personal mechanic for all that stuff. If they weren't taking someone out of race team, you weren't taking someone off the HDT production line. So that I kind of landed in this unique gig in the sand pit.
Yeah, wow.
That was super cool.
Yeah. I worked at Fox Sports for 18 years and I could definitely relate to that concept of they're just people, it's just your work, you just go in and do it. I remember bringing some from friends and family members to different events where there's famous TV personalities or whatever, and they're all going, "Oh wow," and I kind of I kind of forgot that's how people see them because you just see them every day. They're just people, and you're just doing your job. So I can absolutely relate to that.
Yeah.
So, as a young kid that's sort of thrown in the deep end to a certain degree, do you have any memories there of just how perhaps naive you are as a youngster and then getting thrown into an environment like that? Do you have any memories of what did you suddenly learn about yourself and about life in that experience?
I did. We built a car that was a predecessor to the Director, the controversial one, and we were sending it to Europe to be tested.
Yep.
And it went over there, and one of the guys went over, and it accompanied the journos, and they had a few issues with it, and we developed some stuff locally. And then Brock came in one day and he said, "Have you got a passport?" I said, "No, why? Can't afford to go on holidays." He said, "Get a passport, Davo. You're going to America. All the stuff we're doing on this car, I need you to get that car and sort it out, and then spend that experience in America." So I'm thinking, gee, how to crank it up?
Yeah.
So next minute I'm on a plane. I'm going to New York without a mobile phone, without a credit card. I got traveller's checks and some money, and I've got all these spare parts shoved in my bag to work on, including the fuel line, which is a fairly long bit of hosing, the pipe that goes from the front of the car to the back. So we're talking 4 meters long.
Yeah.
I had to kind of cut it up, wrap it in cardboard, and take it as carry-on. Which it sort of looked like a gun when it was wrapped up. So it was a bit hard to get. So I've landed in New York, gone downstairs that morning, ran into a guy called Peter Robinson, who was the editor-at-large for Wheels magazine, was for over 20 years.
Yeah, wow.
He was running the test drive campaign in America against all their hot cars. But we had to get the car from New York to LA. 4-day drive across the country. I spent the day getting this car ready. And this mechanic in this Chevrolet dealer came up to me and he said, "Are you David?" I said, "Yeah." I'm like, "How do you know this?" He said, "There's a bloke on the phone inside. His name's Peter."
Yeah.
So I walk into the dirty Chevrolet dealer's office, pick up the phone. It's Brock on the other end, giving updated instructions of what else to do to the car while I've got it.
Wow.
So the guy never slept.
No. How old were you?
I was 20.
20.
So doing all that, I'm on the other side of the world. I've got no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I've got a bucket of bolts, and I'm with Peter Robinson. I've never met him either. And we spent 4 days driving a Commodore across America.
So good.
And that's a whole nother 20 pages because that was a trip and a half.
Yeah. Just before we get further into that, I'm curious. He obviously trusted you hugely. So how do you reckon you built that trust with him so quickly?
Brock was trusting.
Yeah.
So Brock was, he did surround himself with people pretty quickly who wanted to be on board. And don't worry, that trust was betrayed, or that trust was, there was good, bad, and the ugly with the trust, right?
From his side?
Yeah. And probably more from the people that he trusted, and whether it be financially or emotionally or but he was a trusting person. So a lot of people you talk to now who met Peter Brock for the first and last time will always say Brock spoke to me like he'd known me for 10 years. Yeah. He never cut the conversation short, right? Yeah. And he pretended 10 years later that he remembers meeting you and having the conversation, right? Yeah. So he was a master at it. So his aura and his discussion built that trust pretty quickly. Okay, so he just, hey, here's what I want you to do. You just kind of go and do it.
Yeah. And
when you're a racing car driver and you do a pit stop, you're trusting everyone to do their bit, or the guy to build the engine. You're not being micromanaged. So trust was built. Was also trust was given too.
Yep.
Yeah, from him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
not based on my credibility necessarily.
No, but it's definitely through your actions.
It's up to me to run with it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like how you show up and all of those things. Like if he's putting that faith in you and you're delivering, then oh wow, that's so cool. So,
and also remember the caliber of the guy. He's a busy man, right? And so I became the deflector. If there was someone else to talk to about an issue, it could be me. He would say, "Talk to Davo about that."
Yep.
So that kind of gave him bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
Allowed him to do something but keep moving ahead, not get caught in the details. And then obviously later in life, I became part of his management team as we managed Peter commercially, because he'd sort of do the talking and thinking for him. He just created the wave, the bow wave, and everyone behind it hang on for the ski or get dumped. So
Yeah. So
that's the way he rolled. Yeah.
did you naturally have that ability to speak to people, or did you have to get very good very quickly?
Probably quickly, I guess. Didn't think much about it.
Just get on with it.
You just sort of get on with it. You're sort of young. And I think going to it, so back to your question, when I went to America, I guess I did a lot of growing up because pretty intimidating process. Got to California, I couldn't even drink because I was under 21.
Yeah.
So everything was a battle. And story for another day, but we had there was a thing called the Energy Polarizer that Brock was involved with, and we had that fitted to the car. And there was a lot of stuff that Australian journalists, Robinson and the Americans, there was things going on, and I kind of had to stand my ground with some of the stuff, some of the conversations, some of the process. So I learned a lot there about loyalty, protecting the farm, believing in what you believe in, and sticking by the guy who's giving you the opportunity. So,
absolutely.
Not throwing anyone under the bus,
Yeah. I'm curious to ask about the polarizer, because I was saying to you before, like I just jumped on to do a bit of research before we chatted, and that's the main sort of story that came up, was not going into the detail of what it was, but it was more the downfall of the relationship with Brock and Holden as a result of going down that path. Did you have any of behind the scenes of what this thing was?
Not true. No, not in the early stages, but certainly in the pre-launch stage. Brock pulled me aside, and I was driving a HQ Holden sedan, as most cool kids were.
Yeah.
And we fitted one of these to my car, right? Brock drove it around the block, gave it back to me, and said, "Drive it home. Tell me what you think." Right? I got no idea what we're talking about here. I literally drove down to the end of the street, stopped and pulled over, and thought, "What's wrong with my car? It's shagged."
Oh, really?
Like, it drove like it had 4 flat tires.
Huh.
It was really, really different. So I kept driving it, and then I guess that experience of the changes, the impact on the car. I wasn't told a lot, but I had to execute a lot of things. So it was kind of, here's your mission, but with no context around it. And so that was really personally difficult for me, because people were working out there was things happening. A lot of it was revolving around some secret conversations between Peter and myself. We're messing around with cars 7 days a week, night and day, doing all this stuff. And I became internally, as an employee, quite isolated, because I was Brock's favourite, because he trusted me.
Yeah.
So he was allowed him to do what he wanted to do without someone challenging him or saying no.
Are you happy to keep talking about all of this? Like, I don't know what you feel. Yeah. Like, so
that was actually a very tough time.
Yeah.
And it manifested itself after hours. It manifested itself through, people at Holden and everything else. And the industry was talking about me. It impacted my girlfriend relationship at the time. It was quite a personal, because it's the tall poppy syndrome, right? I was living, not knowing it at the time, right? I'm living, as we talked about Brock before, he was very charismatic and he made friends fast, but he made lots of them as well. So if Brock was trusting me, that means he'd probably let go of someone else. You can only manage so many people. So I've replaced someone else close to him in terms of being the trusted confidant.
Yeah.
And then that starts the jealousy or the discussion or the wonder as to what am I up to? So again, Tall Poppy was sort of kicking in.
Did you remember, like, how stressful that was? Like, how did you deal with all of that?
Oh, it was horrible, because I got set up a few times. I was still young from the country. I'm talking, 21 at this point.
Yeah.
And I still pride on myself on being a bit naive. That's okay in life. I don't need to know everything or pretend to know everything. But living in that world with a superstar and all the superstar people around him, colleagues, a lot of fear. There would have been a lot of fear and anxiety caused by that. And it wasn't about David Whitehead personally. I didn't create it.
No.
I was just part of it.
It's almost like you were the dumping ground, like
I was the fall guy, yeah.
the barrier. Yeah.
Yeah. So I became, and then sometimes I would get given opportunities that others didn't. And probably going to America was that. There was probably guys in the business that were more experienced and qualified than me, 100%. I was conscious of that. Then why am I going? Yeah, we would have been to do with the trust. Was that because I was a yes man, probably as a yes kid? Yeah, I'm not going to say no. I haven't got that. I've only been in the business a couple of years, and
You've got the credibility to be calling out Peter Brock to tell him to tell him no.
yeah, correct. So that was a challenging time, and I didn't know everything else that was going on in Brock's life. Didn't know everything about the politics and the polarizer. There was a lot of stuff going on with Holden. 87, the country's in a recession. Holden's on its knees. And so you've got this polarizer. So there's two matters running concurrently. One is Holden's in a bad way. We're in a recession. Brock's a bit on the nose because he's doing this polarizer thing.
Yep.
And meanwhile, they're talking to a guy called Tom Walkinshaw. So the founder of Holden Special Vehicles is circling around. And the commercial reality of that was that Walkinshaw was going to pay Holden to build their cars, where Holden, the president, was paying Brock. So economically, it made sense that this Pommy guy could come into the country and give the money to buy the opportunity to build some cars. So they had a lot more control. It was a very clinical commercial relationship rather than the messy Brock one that had been created. And Brock was headstrong. He would call out Holden. He would call out the board. He'd write them letters.
Yep.
Single out the engineers. This guy was a perfectionist, and he wasn't a politician.
Yeah. So not only was he creating this new system, but there was probably, it sounds like it was almost, it worked in Holden's favour to...
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
did.
Right.
And so when you hear the commentary now about, Brock and the Polars, that destroyed the relationship, let me tell you, that the hole was big.
Anything. Yeah,
they're looking for anything. Could have been Brock having a girlfriend or Barracan for the wrong footy team.
Yeah.
It was a perfect storm for them because the Holden people were mixed in their opinion. Brock sought out a lot of his friends in GM in the US as allies because they'd always backed him very heavily in the US. We did some polarizer testing in the US. But politics is a big player. You know, the truth can be buried and the minorities don't get a vote, and next minute the game changes, and it did for Brock. The game changed. He never thought that they would do it.
No, it doesn't sound like it from what I was reading as well. So you drove it, your car, with the polarizer installed.
Yeah.
Was that early stage testing? Did you see anything in it that you were like, oh, this is actually going to be successful, or?
I didn't know enough about it to form early opinions. I guess it was a bit confusing and confronting. Trying to work out why it didn't plug into anything. So I'm asking all the obvious questions, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm still not getting a lot of information from Brock about this. I'm just doing it, you know. And then we fitted a polarizer to Alan Moffat's car at the time, his road car, and Brock got Moffat to write an evaluation of how the car drives and handles. And it was after we'd fitted the polarizer and modified the car. And so it was kind of a bit of a sneaky endorsement. But the weight of people working, the undercurrent at HDT at the time about the polarizer was very, very strong. And it forced Brock into a corner a bit because he didn't know who to trust anymore.
Was that more because of what it was and that it didn't make sense to them rather than actual performance?
Yeah, 100%. And at the time, you've got Holden making. So by this stage, you got to remember on the other side of the fence, Holden are engineering their new HSV car. They've got this deal with Walkinshaw happening. They're
Yep.
poaching our suppliers and staff. So that conversation was already happening while the polarizer was on the scene. So the horse had already bolted from a Holden point of view. They're already committed. And the more Brock stood his ground on the polarizer, the easier it become for them to dismiss the relationship because they're already pregnant with HSV.
They're already heading down
And
that direction.
there wasn't a home for Peter Brock.
I'd be interested to hear your thoughts because essentially, from what I was reading, it wasn't actually attached to any of the engine in terms
Correct.
of any functioning part of the engine,
Yeah.
and it was made of, amongst other things, crystals and
Yeah.
magnets. So I'd love to hear. You said that Alan Moffat gave it feedback. Was he positive about?
Yeah, and it wasn't. I guess Brock wanted to distract people from the device to the impact of the device, and
Yep.
I played a role in that where he'd say, "Okay, don't worry about that. Just drive." He's like, "Just drive the car. Tell me if that car's better than the other car, the back to back." And instead of Peter Brock driving it, because he can make everything look good, I would drive it.
Yeah.
So he would say, "Go with Davo. He's not Peter Brock. Let him drive that car and show you what it does."
Yep. Yep.
So I became the test monkey
Yeah.
because he couldn't say, "Oh, it's just your driving." He separated himself from, and then in later iterations, the polarizer started to become invisible. So we changed its physical dimension. We hid it away so that people didn't know what they were dealing with. It's a polarizer, isn't it? We don't know. I can't tell. And so Brock kind of stepped away from making it loud and proud under the bonnet to being hidden away in secret departments.
And it was the focus on the improvement in performance rather than actually what was
Rather
creating.
than focusing on it. So you didn't look at the car and you didn't make up your mind before you drove it. Go, "Oh, this has got big wheels on it, it'll be faster."
I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you reconcile the whole thing. I mean, state-of-the-art watches have quartz crystals in them for a reason, right? Because they do have properties that are beneficial. I
Yeah.
don't pretend to understand what those are, but how do you reconcile the whole thing? Is it something that they've taken part of that technology and then used it down the track, or do you just think
Well,
it was something that they
built,
experimented?
it's built on a belief system that you can change impact. The polarizer was designed to change the energy levels to align the crystals, right? So in a molecular structure, what differentiates a piece of paper from a piece of plastic? It's molecular structure, right? The vibratory rate, or the vibration rate of that molecule in its construction is what means it's paper, or it's plastic, or it's milk, or it's a pair of shoes, right?
Or whatever,
So
yeah.
it's fundamental can be impact. So you can boil water and turn it into steam. You're changing its molecular structure. The polarizer was designed to align those molecules in more of an ordered set, so that piece of rubber, that tire, worked to its optimum. So the molecular structure, if it was impacted by heat or wear or abrasiveness or whatever, the polarizer would realign its molecular structure so it worked better. That's the layman's conversion after all these years. That was the key message, right?
Yeah.
Now, you either believed that was achievable or not,
Yeah.
right? So scientifically, hard to prove. In theory, lots of different opinions. If people ever look up a thing called orgone energy, ORGONE, it explains that theory, and that's kind of what a polarizer was.
Yeah.
But it was far too fanciful for a racing car driver to be talking about molecular alignment.
Yeah.
It wasn't, pass me a packet of Marlboro 25s and a polarizer.
Yeah.
and I'll talk you through it. So Brock became banded weird and into crystals, and he gave up the smoking and the drinking, not because he was weird, because he wanted to live forever.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Bevo,
Yeah.
his wife, was a big influence in that because she was quite alternate,
Yep.
quite a naturalist, and Brock was on that bandwagon.
There's been
So
plenty
he went from the
of
smoking, drinking, motor racing buddy to someone weird over in the corner who's now a vegan.
I can, and I
But
think
none of
anyone.
that was weird. It was just weird to everybody else,
Yeah, yeah. I think anyone that's been through any sort of personal growth that is outside of the sphere of what people can understand, then it can often be a similar reaction. I don't pretend to understand that or know whether it was beneficial or not, but I've also done a lot of reading on all sorts of different propulsion devices and all sorts of different things that current science doesn't make sense of, and yet it works. So I'm not prepared to discount anything either.
And
But
even those days, no one could Google it and get it
yeah,
information anyway, right? So you had to
yeah,
kind of go with what you knew or what you didn't,
yeah,
or what was in your dictionary at home, on your encyclopedia at home. But you didn't have this resource in your hands to really make a judgment. If you didn't understand it, that was all you knew, was black and white.
and
Block
it's
believed in it. No one else understood it, so not many people were on the journey.
it. Human nature says we want to stay part of the tribe, and so if there's anything that's going to make us be disconnected from that, then the natural reaction is to resist it. You're put in a very unique position because you're basically in this camp by default from the journey from being in there and then becoming this
Yeah, yeah.
trusted person. It must have been so difficult for you to basically be isolated from so much of the rest of every part of your life in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it was, because I was kind of the lone soldier, and my family and friends didn't understand it, and so it didn't kind of get talked about. I'm just doing what I'm doing one day at a time, and you can find yourself knee deep in a middle of a political commercial bucket where there's a lot of stuff going on way above my pay grade.
Who did
You
you
know, and
lean on in that? Sorry, go on.
probably there was a girl who was Brock's PA at the time, Christine. We shared a house together.
Yep.
And so we were on the same page. So that was kind of the support person at the time. I still hear from her. She's living in Sydney. So I guess we saw it all. We were branded as the Brock, the disciples, or the blindfolded, or whatever else. So we become part of that group. But we stuck with him. And I know, there was a T-shirt from 84, 85 Bathurst. And it said, "On with Brock, no matter what." And I think that year of 85 and 86 is very testing for Brock's relationships, commercial partners. And you got people like Mobile who stuck with him, and Bridgestone, and a lot of long-term people who believe they didn't take it on board. They saw the big picture, didn't try to solve it, didn't pretend to understand it, didn't offer many opinions, but got on with it, where people around him, employees or whatever else, probably thought that, hey, Brock's a bit weird and he's not the man he used to be.
Yeah, right. He was clearly a genius behind the wheel. Was he talented as a mechanic and an engineer as well?
He was a thinker. Like in my era, in the olden days, he did work on his car a lot. That was who he is. In my era, it was a lot more professional. But
Yeah.
he had a thing, and he talked about it. It was called mechanical sympathy. Because he started with nothing and racing very weak hand-built cars that would normally just be used as shopping trolleys.
Yeah.
He had a very good knack of making it last the distance, where a modern-day car is engineered and built to its optimum, and you can thrash the thing 11 tenths and not break it.
Yeah.
That didn't exist as he grew up. As he said, if you broke it, you had to fix it.
Yeah.
So that's where he was good. that he knew how to nurture things or how to create things or be creative to get an outcome, not just because you can buy the go fast part. So he had to learn to drive. He had to drive around the problem.
Yeah.
Hasn't got any brakes. Oh, well, we're still racing. The tyres are bald and got no grip. We're still going. Where you don't come in the pit stop and throw another set on. So when you watch the footage from the 70s and 80s, those running those Tiranas at Bathurst with the skinny tyres and the open face helmet and not even a racing seat, still got the cigarette lighter in it. They don't make them. They don't make those drivers like that anymore. So the Moffats and the Gagans and the Perkins and all those guys, Johnson, they were racing with cars with radios and cigarette lighters.
It just reminds me of some of the race cam footage when they're talking to Brock and they're talking to Johnson, and they're literally talking about what the car can't do at the moment and how they're having to do workarounds on the fly. And I think that's probably why, like, from your description, he won so many times, because a lot of those cars just didn't make the distance, did they? They didn't make the 1,000 Ks.
No. 1,000 Ks is a sprint now. No one runs out of pressure. No one runs out of oil pressure. No one runs. They just either run out of talent, but they're having a full-on sprint with 10, 20 laps to go, and that's Bathurst. But all day they just cruised around. Different era of racing in car, where in the early days, the whole race was filled with drama. There was so many elements you had to try and control as a driver, because your mechanical reliability, it just wasn't there. So a 500K, 500-mile race was real endurance. Now it's not.
Yeah, and I remember sitting there and it was so interesting to watch, whereas now you can tune out for 2 hours and see a bit of a recap and nothing much has changed. Like, the drama might be someone's blown a tyre or had a little bingle and had to...
got to create drama. Yeah, correct.
Exactly. Yeah.
That game's changed, and that was Brock's formative years, right? And he excelled in that environment. He learned how to become fast and yet on the same equipment as everybody else.
Yeah. You described it a lot of ways. You just did as you were told, but what did you learn from him just about life in general?
I think I learned to be optimistic. Brock would get out of a car and it's blown an engine or a gearbox and there's oil coming out of one end, smoke coming out of the other, and Brock's going, right, what are we doing tomorrow? Let's go forward. He'd be optimistic about a crash.
Yeah, right.
He taught me a lot about, he used to say, what other people say about you is none of your business.
Love it.
So Brock never read a paper, or not about himself. He didn't take on board other people's opinion, and I learned that builds resilience. And a bubble, it can also be denial. It can be a safety zone, and it also taught me to think in the third person a bit. Brock would often say about a decision we'd made, is this decision good for Peter Brock? You go, wow, where did that come from? What are you talking about? But I know where he was heading. He was trying to be Peter Brock version 1 to 3. I'm going to be this one now. Was that good for the other two Peter Brocks? How does it impact the rest of his life? Rather than just being in the tunnel. He had an amazing ability to look outside his own world and stuff. And I think I took a lot of that as a young kid. I took a lot of that on board for myself, because it was real mentor stuff. It was real leadership.
Yeah.
As selfish as he was being a motor racing driver, he was largely about other people.
It sounds like he had that ability to see big picture, but also what you're describing, it sounds like personal brand, right? He was conscious continually of his brand. Not that he cared what anyone thought necessarily from what you've said, but he wanted to make sure that the image he wanted portrayed was that from a commercial perspective, do you think, or an overall perspective?
No, it wasn't. Brock wasn't great commercially. He understood it. He didn't know how to manage it. And I say that respectfully because I became his manager. But he was very happy to do it, and he understood it. He understood the value of a sponsor. He understood people.
Yeah,
He was the real McCoy, right?
Yeah.
So he treated his fans like he treated his family and his parents.
Yeah.
So a conversation with Peter Brock was, he got into your soul, he looked you in the eyes, and 10 minutes with him at the airport, you thought you knew him for 5 years. That's the way he was.
Yeah.
And so he was a natural speaker, and he'd get in front of a commercial audience and a sponsor, and he would tell them whatever he wanted, and they'll all believe it and all love it. I'm not talking about crapping onto people, but he knew that what he was saying and doing was having an impact in their lives.
Yeah. He cared.
Commercially or personally. He generally cared.
Yeah,
and he didn't, towards the end, he recognised he wasn't caring enough about himself.
Yeah, right.
He became a product as well as becoming Peter Brock. So there's the product, you roll him out to do the pony tricks in the dog show, but towards the end when he separated from Bevo, his comment was, I just want to be Peter Brock.
Yeah, right. Instead of having to
I don't want someone else to tell me how to be Peter Brock. I don't want someone else to make my appointments to be Peter Brock. I just want to be Peter Brock.
And for us mere mortals, we can't comprehend what it's like to have everyone so demanding of your time and energy and like all consuming, I imagine.
It was. And look, there's a very powerful interview that Andrew Denton did. And if people watched that talked a lot about this was just fresh after his so I remember his 60th birthday up at the farm, and then within 8 months he'd moved out of the farm. So the Denton interview was just after that, and he speaks very calmly, very openly, very deeply about his outlook on life and where he's at. And he was always that cat. He was always that guy. I met him when he was 40, but he was never able to break away and conduct himself that way every day without having a manager or a Davo or a Bevo pulling some strings or doing something. He just wanted to be kind of left alone.
Yeah.
Just give me a cup of tea or a glass of wine. I'm just going to sit over there and shut up and watch the footy. He didn't get much of that in his life. And the farm was that escape for him. He had the dogs and the tractor, and he was growing and the bird collection, and that was his Peter Brock. But he still had to go to work on Monday and do stuff to pay the bills. But
he must have, because it sounds like he's probably introverted to a certain degree, but he must have just loved racing, did he?
He did more than people would understood. I mean, he did a lot of it. He liked the challenge. I used to ask him a few questions about nerves pre-race. He said, Dave, if I don't get any nerves, I'm not going to be here.
Yeah, right.
If it doesn't excite me, I'm not doing it. So you can imagine that you've got all the confidence in the world. You won Bathurst, you've done this, you've raced around the world, and you turn up and you're still expecting yourself to have the butterflies.
Yeah.
And as the lights change, and I've done a bit of racing, the lights change and you pull a gear. If you're not feeling sick in the stomach, then you don't belong there. So he was fueled by that passion for far too long. He probably couldn't walk. It was an addictive part of his makeup, and it's okay now to say he shouldn't have done this or shouldn't have driven that car in WA that killed him. But we weren't going to stop him.
No.
It wasn't a rational decision to stop him. He knew he couldn't go professional racing all the time, but he was always going to have his bum on a seat and
pushing the limits.
He would, a lot of the stuff we did over the years, he would say, hey, no one else on the planet is doing this right now.
Yeah, cool.
And he really had, it was so important that little thing we're doing or creating, or the stuff we did in America, no one else is doing this in the world, on the planet right now, he'd say. That was his focus, and that was his passion. And you see behind he was so natural behind the wheel or on TV and waving the arms around and chatting and laughing, because he'd done the hard work to get to that point. So he was a natural driver. He could drive around Bathurst with an arm on the window, right?
Yeah.
But he spent a lot of years not driving around Bathurst with his arm on the window to get to that point. So he was, if you met him at a party and you didn't know who he was, he doesn't come across as a racing driver. He's pretty very slick, sophisticated. Didn't necessarily talk about himself. He would allow other people to tell their story before they'd say, "Oh, what do you do, Peter?"
Yeah, right. How good.
That was the cool. That's what people liked about him, because Brock always spoke about you. He didn't speak about him.
Okay, so your experience with him, a lot of the time you're just doing as you're told, but was that the case for you as well? Did he take a genuine interest in who you were and what you were about?
Yeah, no, he did. Yep, no, he did. Yep. I mean, as far as employee and employer do, we were
Yeah.
we were not too closely living in each other's back pocket. Spent a lot of time together. I remember probably working 7 days a week for a big chunk of my life. I don't remember holidays or whatever, ever not doing it. But yeah, I was looked after and protected, and I say that because when we closed down Holden Dealer Team, then he, or HTT Special Vehicles, he created a job for me at Advantage International.
Yep.
So he created that job for me so I could continue working with him. So that was part of his deal. He became then managed, but I come on as part of the package. So I see that as being that moment, yeah.
Yeah. And that's awesome. That says a lot because I'm sure at that point, if a lot of businesses are struggling, you can't keep everyone.
There's a lot of collateral damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So then, was that when you started getting into the management of his?
Yeah. So correct. We had I was putting together commercial deals with the Mobil and the Bridgestones and NGKs and all those guys to create enough money so he could go racing, because Advantage then owned the racing team, and they're like an IMG, right? Advantage. Yeah. We've had a few iterations of names, but Octagon, I think it became.
Yeah, that's right.
They owned the asset. They owned the race team, and Brock was employee of the race team, that's the first time that had happened. And we had to leverage Brock to generate income to make the whole thing work.
So you're just learning on the run. Your whole career at this point is literally just been thrown into roles that you don't really know how to do.
Yeah, how hard can it be? Yeah. But that was, different times as well, simpler times.
Yeah, sure.
A lot times. But you're dealing with... Still to learn. Yeah. You're dealing with a pretty powerful household name kind of guy, and you liked him or you didn't, right?
Yeah.
So he did command attention. He was still relevant. A lot of legacy there, and there was really no other motor racing people that were managed domestically. Like he would be like a Lewis Hamilton or a Oscar Piastri. They're going to manage you when they're racing go-karts. Brock self-managed for a long time. Probably self-managed to the end largely. He didn't get pushed around. So it wasn't a tough gig.
So then you're his manager, like from a personal perspective and commercial perspective in a lot of ways. We do like a bit of everything. And how long did you do that for?
I had a contract at Advantage. I only think it lasted about a year because it had to renew in the second year with Mobil, and the minimum amount had to be $1 million from Mobil, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of what bought me my job. That in the second year it didn't renew for that. It renewed for like about 800. So we had to find other people to top it up. So by that stage,
so you're looking for money to keep your job almost.
Oh, pretty well, yeah. So at that stage, that was probably kind of the end of the year. I had my opportunity, and did all the things I had to do, and then then I was out. So that was kind of the end of my Brock. So I've been delayed by a year, I guess, by being at Advantage.
You kept in contact with him regularly after that?
Yeah, I did. So not as much, but still quite frequently. I had a bit to do with the Peter Brock Foundation on the journey. And then, right up to different events. His 60th, and then he was, his 60th, and then he was moved out of house and he was dead. So in the last 2 years, a lot happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me though, just before we get to that part of his story and your story, given you've dived in at the deep end of life and business and motorsport, did that mean that whatever came after that was like almost felt a little bit like a backward step, or did it
Yeah,
instead set? Yeah,
I was a bit
go on.
lost.
Yeah,
I was a bit lost because that's all I'd done since a kid. It's all I've ever
mm.
thought about.
Yeah,
So I thought I can't become a dentist now. It's a bit late. So yeah, it was a bit of a lost period of not missing um, the spotlight or the Hollywood or nothing to do with that. It was just more
no,
personally, what now I
yeah,
need to get a job. What is that
yeah,
job?
yeah,
Uh, where do I start? I literally started selling cars. That's kind of when I applied for a job in the Age and I got it. So
yeah. Right.
I just did what you do, just apply for a job somewhere and do something. I didn't have a natural next step.
Did you drop like in there like what you'd been doing, and like do you reckon that was part of what
Uh,
made moving into that world easier?
a little bit because the guy I knew was a Holden dealer. So
Yeah, yeah,
kind of knew of him and I was, yeah, I think I just obviously a bit older, a bit more mature. So I was open to anything. It wasn't as though the Brock thing set me up for life for the natural next step. You know, I wasn't going down the road of being a mechanic or setting up your own thing or
yeah,
going back working for another team or it was way past all that.
yeah. So you said it was like some pretty tough times. Did some of those lessons that you learnt from Brock then help you through that? Given like you talked about optimism and just
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. You got to, I lived through Brock's going through a lot of changes from losing the whole empire around him, you know,
yeah,
to
yeah,
become an employee of someone and he became more of a product after that. That's probably, he became less of himself, more of a shared asset. Um, so yeah, I guess I had belief in myself.
yeah,
I was sad and disappointed, and I didn't think the day would ever come.
yeah. Right.
I hadn't been kind of living in the shadows either. I wasn't giving it no thought, and I had to make a change, and I made a change and boxed on.
Got to
So
move
I
on.
was always thankful of that life lesson to how to go from 18 to 28 and not have to think much of my life. It's all kind of planned out.
There must have been part of like just in that bubble for 10 years that you see what people you grew up with got up to and that sort of stuff. And it must have been sort of part of it being you miss out on other parts of like a, for want of a better word, regular upbringing. Did you sort of look back and at that at any point, like and think I missed stuff, or it never really crossed your mind?
Oh, no, I did because I grew up in Ballarat, so I kind of walked away from my family and friendship group, and then went to Melbourne and didn't kind of really come back and reconnect. And then you just doing your thing as you do as a kid. Um, and there was lots of travel and lots of going away, and all that was exciting, and that happened for many years. So I kind of isolated myself from probably the friendship group that I grew up with because I was now they'd gone to uni or whatever else, and I was pretty well working, and we didn't have the social contact, we didn't have the devices,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I had to ring someone, hope they were home,
yeah,
write them a letter. It was kind of we're all in the same boat, of course, but we
yeah,
weren't living in the same. I wasn't living in the same town, so I'd moved
yeah.
to Melbourne, relying on a new group of friends, which became my Melbourne family. But I know I sacrificed a lot of family time and relationship time by doing what I'm doing. So, but that wasn't a sad thing. It was just a fact. It was just
Yeah.
it's like a fly in, fly out guy. You're kind of still connected, but you're not. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You must have built some great connections through that time of people you could reach out to at whatever other point of your life in the future after you've been through that.
Yes and no. I guess I still see a couple of guys from the past. But again, the sport changed so quickly. I was out of it for a long time. So, like any sporting club or association, there's kind of the DNA that hangs around for a while. But the footy club can change, but the heritage doesn't. And I guess Brock was like, because Brock moved around his own team and then working for others, that kind of broke it up a lot. It wasn't as though it was the same institution for all those years.
Yep.
He moved around, so that naturally meant relationships changed and contacts changed. So, certainly my era, I proudly would say they were the good old days. They were the great days.
Yeah.
You know, so everyone who talking about before the VL Commodore or the Tiranas and the things with the chrome bumper bars, people today still think that is the greatest era of their life. You know, so
I want my VL back.
100%. And nothing that will never be replaced. There will never be a better era because things are more disposable, more complex, more shallow. Nowadays, it's more immediate.
Yeah, you've only got to talk to your mechanic and ask him about, like, I'm buying cars for my kids and asking them where to go, and they're like, this mob here, everything's built in Mexico, all the parts are really small now, like, and just describing the whole thing, and here's your best bet, and this is why, and it's a completely different landscape, isn't it? Like, it's such a, like you said, disposable. And
I think automotive passion's gone. Like, there's a lot of passion around supercars and Ferraris and Lamborghinis, but the mum and dad car, parked in our driveway, what my dad drove to work. My kids are brand agnostic, as long as it's got a really big screen and a really good sound system. I don't care where it was made, Dad. Yeah. So we've got a brand agnostic era of automotive, and the aspirational car is not a Commodore; it's a Ferrari or something that people are never going to afford to own. Where in this country, we really enjoyed the car that won Bathurst. My dad just dropped me at school in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And even now, like, they're driving Monaros. Like, it's not even anything you can buy on the street, is it?
No, that's right. It's become very artificial, and as I said, the good old days are gone. But hence the value of the good old days, the VL Commodore. The values have gone through the roof.
Oh, no!
People want to pay to hang on to that nostalgia.
I think I sold
and
one
you go,
for five.
wow, the car was never that good.
But it was at the same time.
At the same time, it was, and we all want to relive our youth, right? So
yeah, I just wanted the '84 Brock Commodore growing up, and it was just by chance that I stumbled across one. Not a Brock Commodore, but it was like the VL with the spoiler and mags kit, and oh mate, so good. It probably wasn't great memories.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. What have you done since then, David? Like, are you sort of stayed on a consistent path, or you jumped around to a whole lot of different roles?
No, I've stayed in automotive all my life, and after Advantage, I was in retail car sales, ended up working for BMW, and got into finance and Commonwealth Bank into finance, and then I worked for Nissan Motor Company for a number of years. So I stayed automotive connected, and then for the last 10 years, I've been in my role. I'm one of the owners of Sheen Panel Service in Melbourne. So,
awesome.
Again, a family business that's sort of now second generation family that holds a lot of those values. I feel at home. This is like HDT of that era. It's big but small. You're very well connected. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. It's very challenging, and I've been given a lot of trust. So it's history repeating itself in a whole lot of ways.
Yeah, and my experience with people who are given a lot of trust, it's because they are trusting, and you, like, I don't know whether you can really own that, but it sounds like you must just have that naturally trusting personality that people see something in you that they just hand you the keys to the
correct, keys to the farm, and don't stuff it up.
Away you go. But you've sounds like you've delivered on that as well.
Well, you have to. Yeah, you can't. Doesn't mean the perfect at it, but I think in this era you show up, do your best. You don't have to be the best at it, but that I think people recognise that if you're a stayer or a keeper, all those words, you're going to hang around. Younger generations, 18-year-olds now, I employ them and mate, they're on seek within 3 weeks looking for the next job. Their long service is 3 months, 3 years.
Looking for more money, or just because
everything.
Yeah, right.
Everything. So they think that the climb to the top is as quickly as they can make it. They're not going to sit back and be told that you can be promoted. I don't think young people necessarily, not all of them, lots of them don't want to do the time. They just want to bypass the steps.
Yeah.
And there's some easy money around. These young kids are going to earn good money.
Yeah,
is it sustainable?
absolutely.
Does it give them a career? I don't know. But if you can take the good money and take your chances, you would. I get it. Not the days of I've got a lot of apprentices, and it's not very appealing. They don't earn a lot of money, but they will have a job for life and they will earn good money. Our tradesmen now get paid exceptional money, and they've got a job for life because there's less of them around. They're rare birds, but that's I guess the world's changed, but there's a lot of people want instant gratification. That's what the phone gives them.
Absolutely. That
so you say, let's talk about it in a couple of months. Now they want to talk about it today. Let's see how you go. No, well, I got a guy, who asked me, how do you think I'm going? I said, you're going great. Stop asking me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the world they live in. I don't understand it. I've got an 18-year-old daughter who's like that as well. That's the world. That's the people she deals with. It's not her fault. It's how she thinks. That's how they think.
Yeah, there was a lot of adults that are starting to think the same way as well, though. Like that's also the thing. I look at people talking about affordability. There's no doubt that housing costs have increased more than what people are getting paid, but I also wonder how much. You talk about the days you talked about when you fix things, and how much of what people purchase is more about because everyone else has got it and I've got to be at a certain level, and how much is actually needed. It's a really interesting time.
Yeah, because you get
far
people
removed.
The building trade or whatever. You can be qualified. You can have a dog and a nice ute and a girlfriend before you're 20, and self-employed. You don't need a lot of tools. You can wing it.
Yeah.
So it looks amazing on the outside. Where in some trades you've got to do 4 or 5 years and not earn much money, and then you'll figure out, do people want to go on that apprenticeship, whatever the job is, role in life? No, they don't. But to become a doctor and then become a specialist, you're talking 8 to 10 years, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't go from GP to brain surgeon in a couple of years. You almost double your training years to get to that point. Then you start. So you could be 30 as a specialist doctor before you get to afford a Commodore,
And then you actually learn when you're on the job as well.
Yeah, correct.
Do you believe in just some things are meant to happen? Because I look at how you started this conversation, a chance meeting with Brocky just out the front of his place of work. Do you believe that some things are just it's like fate?
Yeah, look, I do. You can't rely on it for everything. But I think you create your own luck a bit, and you're it's about recognising it. So if there is fate or an opportunity out there, you got to be in tune with it.
Yeah, love that.
You can have your eyes shut to it, or you can expect it to come to you. But if I drive home tonight and I think I can find a 50-cent piece on the side of the road, I'll probably find it, but it won't fly up and hit my windscreen. So I think the journey of life can teach you that, and I think I see that a lot in good footy coaches, good AFL coaches. They see the opportunity of the young star, but the young star can't see it.
Yeah,
and coach try to connect that, say, I can see that you're completely capable of this task, but you don't see it.
Yeah, that's the eternal challenge of the coach. What you described there it's so true. And some people might think, oh, that's just like coincidence. But there is actually science behind that about how the brain works. And if you are open to the opportunities and you are focusing in a certain area, yeah, the solutions show up. To me, look at where you were at. You've been to Sandown, you've seen the Brock Commodore, you're like, oh, right, I want to be part of that. Your whole conscious, but most importantly, subconscious starts working towards that. And yeah, you create opportunities. That's such a great description, David.
Mm.
I want to get to Brock's passing. I remember listening to Craig Lowndes talk about the year he won Bathurst, that when Lowndes won Bathurst the next year, and he goes, "Look, I don't believe in this spiritual stuff," but he goes, I haven't felt anything like that, but it was like Brock was there with me because everything went right, and he goes, and I can't describe the feeling. Is that something you can relate to him in terms of his spirit? We talk a lot about spirit in sport, but then when it comes to sort of putting some, something tangible behind it, people want to run 100 miles, but everyone's had an experience that gives them goosebumps, that makes them sort of go, yeah, I wonder what is at play.
Wonder what that was all about. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about the, like, you get a phone call, like was it shock or heartbreaking? Like, how was the experience for you?
But I'm quite emotional now thinking about it. My daughter was just born, so a couple of weeks I was home on maternity leave, and did have a mobile phone in this era. My phone kept ringing. I thought, why? Right. I was on baby leave. My phone kept ringing, and all those weird people were ringing me. Weird people, but people not on a daily basis. Yeah. And I turned the radio on in the bedroom, and I heard the news story. So I sort of walked back to my phone with intrepidation, and I knew now what I was. It was obviously true because I heard on the radio, and then people were ringing me that this had really happened. So yeah, I don't think you can't process it enough. It's overwhelming, a bit like it is for me now. It's overwhelming, the suddenness that you think, like any people go through all the time with grief, but shit, when's the last time I spoke to him? What did I say? What, you try and get yourself back to, and I'd only seen him about a month before at an event, and I asked him a question. He said, last question, and I put my hand up. He said, Davo, better be a good one. It was a question about the future of V8s and car racing in Australia, and what needs to change. And I remember the whole conversation. And I go, well, that was the last point I'd spoken to him, because he was leaving literally that weekend. He was going to the UK to Goodwood. Then he was flying back to Perth a couple of weeks later to race in that cargo event. So I'd and my daughter wasn't born. So I remember that
really apt question to ask him, given what we've just talked about today. Do you remember what he said?
Yeah, he did. He talked about making the tires on the current cars skinny, so they didn't have much grip, and take some of the aero, take some of the spoilers off. Because what happens then is the car dances around, they move. So from an entertainment point of view, when you watch the race, something friggin' happens. Which is what everyone wants in a Formula One race. They don't want to crash. You want them to move, slide, understeer, oversteer, make an error, an unforced error that creates an opportunity for someone else, rather than just being a drag race based on development. And so that was harping back to the way he grew up, right? The cars got better, faster, quicker. Yeah. And you just put some nameless kid in the car and he can go fast because he lives on the simulator.
Yeah.
A bit devoid of personality. No one actually likes this kid, but he's really fast.
Yeah. It makes me think of that footage when I'm sure Ed Carr had mechanical problems and he's back out in the circuit yes. At Bathurst, and he's on the race cam and he goes, oh, I'm just going to go feral and entertain the fans up here. And that's what he was talking about, right? Getting the thing sideways and actually that old school driving.
Yeah, because if you go to watch it on TV in particular, it makes the cars look slow.
Yeah.
So whether the car's doing 280 or 320 down Conrod, no one cares, no one knows. But if it's coming over the hill and it's got a wheel off the ground and the bloke's running out of brakes and the thing's starting to chatter under brakes and get sideways at the chicane, people love it. They go, wow, something happened. Did you see that? So it's not about just speed, and that's what Brock's message was to detune them. Don't make them as good. Make it a bit rough and a bit challenging, and then the 20 or 30 cars in the field, they'll all have a chance.
It's that love of racing that we talked about before.
Yeah, he was trying to recreate that. So
you can tell just how much he touched your heart, David, just by like how emotional you still have. I mean, like what a blessing he gave your life by putting that trust in you and giving you that opportunity. Amazing. I guess when like looking at it to the end, right? Loving racing and pushing a car to the limit, it's shock, but in some ways not a surprise. I imagine that's how he went out.
look, he had plenty of chances to have a terminal accident over his career, right? He just happened to choose that. There's plenty of road car events I was with that we should have died. Not that we crashed, but there was plenty of racing of cars that didn't have as much grip or brakes, or the track surface wasn't great, or the runoff. That could have happened when he was 19.
Yeah.
The fact that he got all that way,
Yeah.
and that it happened then, it's a kind of an Ayrton Senna moment, a Possum Bourne moment. It's like rock stars.
Yeah.
You either make it to the Rod Stewart era, or you're doing a Prince or a Elvis. You're getting off the plane early. So Brock was kind of way past his prime in terms of racing, just the wrong place at the wrong time. But it could have happened anywhere on his career. So didn't make it easy because where he was in his life in terms of relationship and wills and family and all that was not sorted. Mm-hmm. And I remember Bevo saying to me, she passed away a bit over a year now, she said, Dave, I loved him to death when he was alive. He's been a pain in the ass since he died.
Yeah, right. What's Brock's legacy, you think, Dave?
I think it's probably a bit undefined. I mean, his legacy will be, his Bathurst victories, his history is powerful. I think the disappointing part, what is his legacy and what did he want his legacy to be, different things. He missed the opportunity to create that next legacy. He wanted to do more stuff with kids and community. He wanted to build, where we're going to build a Peter Brock Community Centre. We're going to build a space where the car club or the footy club or the local whatever could come and have a home where they didn't have a home. He wanted to build something that was not about motor racing, but about people.
Young people particularly.
Young people particularly who say, I want to go and build that thing. I need a space. I want to go and do some painting, but I need a big art room. He saw every young kid's opportunity as a space to create it. He never got to do that. And I tried for a long time to try and make that happen after he died through the foundation, but that was all too hard. So if I had the money or I could resource it now, we'd build a Peter Brock Centre, community centre, and it would be that. Yeah. Be a men's or ladies' shed. Not impossible,
No, and to me, it just seems so aligned to your own story, like the opportunity he gave you. Like what a absolute amazing thing that would be for you to be able to pay that forward to even just one youngster, that give them an opportunity like that maybe they never dreamed of, given what you went through.
Yeah, correct. It was about the kid and whether that kid or adult wanted to do in their life. He was that one little stepping stone they could jump on to get a bit closer to their dreams. So sadly, that never manifested. Yeah. So his legacy, I guess, from a sporting person, that will be there in the records and the videos and whatever else. But him as a Peter Brock as a person, probably won't change. That when he was denied that opportunity.
Yeah.
But I think if people watch that that interview I talked about before,
Denton, yeah.
the Denton one, that's quite powerful. It says a lot. It tells you where he was at mentally and where he was at with him. He's very comfortable with himself despite the divorce and all the crap.
Yep.
He was on his own path and it got taken away from him. So I think legacy, maybe it's up to me to do something about it and go and create that thing.
I reckon that'd be pretty special, Dave, like just from how you've described your story. What's your lasting, enduring memory from you and him together?
Look, I think it's a lot to do with laughter. Brock liked to laugh and guys can make him laugh. He was a funny bugger.
Yeah.
So I think the serious world he lived in, his escapism, he surrounded himself with people that he enjoyed being with. And so all those memories I can still hear his laughter and having a joke. And there was a lot of, simpler days, but there was a lot of guys that worked at HTT at the time that he was close to, a guy called Moore, Craig Fletcher, those guys. And they floated his boat. Those guys made him laugh. They kept him real. And I think, my memories are those watching, being in the room with Brock having a beer and we're just laughing and crapping on. And it wasn't about him. It was about, the people at the table, if you like.
Yeah. Love it.
We weren't laughing at his jokes. He was laughing at ours. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Human touch, yeah? Like he wasn't, he just probably enjoyed those moments of not having to
because he didn't have
court.
to do much. Didn't have to hold court, right? It wasn't about him.
Yeah.
What are you guys up to? Yeah. And he threw himself at that. He loved it.
Yeah. Is there something that you'd love to pass on to the listeners just about life or a lesson from the whole experience, Dave, that they can take and apply to their life? You've already shared a heap of them. I love what you said about resilience and having that expectation in opportunities, delayed gratification. But is there something just from your own experience, whether that's with Brock or otherwise, that's you think would be beneficial for people to hear?
I think you've got to take, like motor racing, life's it's a team. It's a team event.
Yeah.
Your family or you can't. I do a bit of motor racing. You can't do it by yourself. I can't get out during the race, jump out, change the tyres myself, and hop back in. Non-competitive. So I think in life it's a team event. Your family, your work. If you just think about yourself all the time, you'll end up by yourself. We live in selfish, hedonistic era. I think you can keep your perspective and keep free of that, and take people on your journey, and you're on their journey as well. Then everyone gets something out of it. You can't just be the selfish one in a selfish world.
Great message. Absolutely. Has to be a team. Life's a team event. Absolutely.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Dave, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story and a bit of behind the scenes of Peter Brock's world. I appreciate it. Mate, I've absolutely loved this chat. I could literally have asked you a million questions when we got into that backstory.
I don't think I'll be sleeping tonight. Ring me tomorrow. There'll be a lot of stuff come back from the, deeply buried.
Yeah.
By the way, I meant to tell you this and that. Yeah, it kind of brings up, and again, because it was just another day in the life of, a lot of it's buried in the subconscious. You just did it, didn't think about it. But for others, it's probably a great story, so.
Yeah. Well, we talked when I met you the other day about there's probably a book or two in there. I'm like, well, maybe this chat will bring some things out. So I'll be interested to see what does come to the surface for you and what you feel inspired to record, even if it's only for your own records. But I reckon the world needs to hear more of these stories because you've really cast such a positive light on your experience with him, but also him as a man that maybe the rest of the world hasn't seen. So I appreciate you sharing so openly and so and sharing so emotionally too.
No, great experience. Thank you. Talk to you again.
You're welcome, mate.
Thanks, Ian. Cheers.
What a fantastic conversation that was, getting to dive deeper into what made Peter Brock tick and hearing firsthand about the mindset and qualities that drove him to greatness. It's rare we get such an inside look at an icon, and I hope it sparks some inspiration in you. I'm truly appreciative for David coming on and sharing his experience. As we wrap up, think about the key lessons from today's episode: the power of optimism in shaping our outlook and decisions, the value of delayed gratification and how it pays off in the long run, building trust, whether that's with others or in yourself, the opportunities that arise when you approach life with the belief that something good is coming your way. Now think about how these lessons can influence your own personal game plan. What changes can you make to bring more optimism, trust, and patience into your life? And if this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend or on social media, and let's spread these positive messages far and wide. You've taken the time to listen to this whole episode. Now it's time to take action. Commit to one thing you've learned today and make it happen. And to avoid any obstructions, join the Sport is Life movement by clicking on the link in the show notes.